Rook's surname with the Lords of Fortune is Lady. Lady, hear me tonight.
Hi guys and welcome to another episode of Game Chat. This time with the Bioware Baes takeover, because we're here to talk about Dragon Age The Veilguard, which will be out in about 2 weeks-ish.
Yeah.
Just under 2 weeks.
Under.
So I'm Kate and with me I have Jay.
Hello.
So yeah, let's just get right into it.
Yeah, let's start with like the basics of the game. So it's coming out on PS5, Xbox, whatever the new Xbox is. I always forget what it's called.
Series.
And PC. It's coming out on Halloween, 31st of October at 4 p.m. British time, which is a bit disgraceful, to be honest.
Yeah.
What happened to the days where games just came out at midnight?
Yeah, so we could say all of that,
yeah. And it's been a while since Inquisition. It's been 10 years.
10 years.
The game has been through a lot of previous iterations. It was a multiplayer game at one point. But it's now strictly single player, very story focused, and the developers have said that it's taken focus in some places from Mass Effect. So like the new way the companions work is like taken from Mass Effect, and then it's kind of the progression systems and stuff were inspired by Final Fantasy X. So it's took a lot of old like classic RPG inspiration.
Okay. I will say that's like one of like I was seeing that everywhere as a criticism, like it's too much like Mass Effect, and I was just like, that's not a problem. That's not a problem for me. It's absolutely not a problem for me, but yeah.
And it's confirmed to have PS5 Pro features as well.
Oh.
I don't know enough about the PS5 Pro because I'm not that rich, so I can't tell you what they are, but it does have those features. There's loads of different editions of the game coming out. So obviously there's your basic edition as well. There's a deluxe edition that has cosmetic armor sets and weapons. These are just like what's the word I'm looking for? They're like transmog only.
Oh, okay.
So like you wouldn't get it as like an armor.
So essentially it's a skin.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's the pre-order bonus as well, which is the Blood Dragon armor from Origins.
I do kind of want that.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. I do kind of want the Blood Dragon. I don't like the ones we just talked about previously. I don't like those. But the Blood Dragon armor, though.
I mean, it's just got to be done. And then there's the Rook's Coffer edition. So that comes with a light up lyrium dagger, a print of the companions, a map, and a little dice with some of the conversation wheel icons on, a potion flask, and a deck of cards.
The game's not included in it?
But the game's not included because that's another thing that the gaming industry does now. Yeah,
because I ordered the Rook's Coffer, but I knew it didn't have the game in it. But like that was fine because I don't have all my consoles are digital.
Yeah, same.
So like to get the I don't want the game, I want the stuff.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But obviously just be aware, like because I saw a lot of that in some of the Facebook groups, like people had bought it and then realised it doesn't have the game in it, and then we've got to play the game. Yeah.
And then there's the Virantium pack, which comes with a steelbook, an outer box, a notebook, and a metal poster. That as well also doesn't include the game, so I don't get all the point of a steelbook without the game in it.
So you can put it on your shelf, I suppose.
It's not a bit of me, but so basically the setup for the game is that you're playing as a new character. You're not playing as the Inquisitor this time around because Dragon Age always gives you a fresh start. And the protagonist this time around is known as Rook, and we'll talk a bit more about Rook later. But the game starts 10 years after Inquisition and around 8 years after Trespasser-ish. So they've not been very clear about that.
Okay.
That's the general consensus that some of the devs have been putting out, but they're like, there's a bit of confusion. They've not been very clear if it's 10 years after Trespasser or Inquisition.
Okay.
And then the gameplay that they've shown so far is the opening of the game, so that shows like Solus. This is going to have spoilers for Inquisition, by the way. So if you've not finished Inquisition, maybe don't watch this video yet. But
if you haven't finished the Inquisition, maybe just don't, because it wasn't that great and it's not actually relevant. So
it opens with Solus trying to tear down the Veil, and Varric and Hardin recruit Rook in a pub or a bar, if you're not English, to basically help him stop Solus, because that would be bad for everyone involved. So gameplay, it's not open world like Inquisition was. It works more like Origins, where it's like each mission is like associated with an area. The areas are quite large from what I've seen, and they have a lot of room for exploration, which is good. And
you can revisit them.
Yeah.
So they apparently they'll change, and you can come back and see the changes that have taken place.
Some of the quests, you'll make choices that affect the areas. I've heard people talking about one. I don't know the details, but there's one quest in Act 1.
Yeah, I know exactly what
significantly impacts an area apparently, and then it's really interesting to go back and see how it's changed. And you go to all these areas from a hub, which is called the Lighthouse, which again, we'll talk about that in a bit more detail. The players have a lot more limited control over the companions in battle, which I've seen a lot of people complain about. For me, personally, I never did that anyway.
No,
that's not.
No,
I don't really care about that.
Setting up the control you do have though, and the combos and stuff, that's useful. I would never actually switch to another character when I could play as my own character. It's not.
I don't get why.
Yeah.
But you can pick an ability and be use it on that.
Yeah.
So that's all you need
and
to
the
do,
wheel will show you what abilities can be merged together and all that kind of stuff.
I actually thought that was really good because I am really forgetful and I forget which ones go together. So if you want to do really elaborate combos and prime an enemy with one companion and then detonate that with another, it does look a bit overwhelming on a screenshot, but I imagine in motion it probably works a lot better. There's skill tree, there's crafting, there's a transmog system in the game at launch, which is good because I know a lot of RPGs these days always put that in an update for some reason.
And it's after we finished playing the game.
I've finished it now, so you can equip 3 active abilities instead of 4 this time, and there's unique gear-based abilities as well. Apparently, the level cap is 50.
Yeah.
And instead of the tactical menu that Origins had, where it kind of paused time and did a top-down, they've kind of shied away from that because it doesn't flow as well with the action of the combat.
Yeah.
Which again, I know a lot of people aren't as happy about because Origins was quite tactical, and Inquisition did have that option.
Yeah.
But the series has been just getting more and more into action RPG anyway, so it seems like a natural progression for where they were going. And you can still be tactical with it because when you bring up the menu, it does pause the gameplay.
Yeah.
So you can wheel around and say, oh, I want to use this ability on that Darkspawn, and I want Balara to use that ability on that one. So you can still tactically play. It's just instead of it being top down, it's, I don't know what the word is.
Like a free moving camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of the progression, as I said, Rook can level up to level 50, and you gain most of your experience through completing the quest. But you can also get it from killing enemies and exploring, finding codex entries and stuff. Yeah. After each level up, you earn a skill point, and then you spend that on the skill tree, which is a big constellation thing.
Yeah, I've seen it.
There's all different types of abilities. There's core class abilities, your weapon proficiencies and stuff. Diamond shaped abilities are the ones that you can use in combat. And then there's passive traits which modify your existing abilities and stuff.
Apparently, you can literally respec your Rook at any time, for free. There's no cost or something.
Yeah, you can just completely respec, including the specializations, which you've not been able to do before.
I think specializations unlock at level 20, if I remember correctly.
So. I think I read that somewhere.
I thought that was a bit late, but I don't know.
If it's out of 50.
I know, but that still seems a bit. I don't know. When I heard that, I was thinking, I suppose it depends how quickly we level up.
Yeah.
Also.
But yeah, the way the companions level up instead is where like Rook earns the XP from the quests and the combat and stuff. They earn XP through the time that you spend with them.
This is interesting.
So, like, if you talk to them, if you do their quests, if you involve them in decisions that you're making, they will level up faster. But then when they level up, they get 2 skill points.
They've stressed like it's not about how much approval you have with them.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't have to be everyone's like best friend to get them to level up.
Yeah.
Which is it's an interesting system.
Yeah. I like it. I think if it's done right, it could be a really good way of doing it.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of RPGs, like I've just finished playing Persona 3, the DLC for that. And it's so annoying when like you don't take characters into combat with you, they just don't level up. And it's like, ugh, it just makes it really grindy. So doing it based on like your interactions with the characters, I think is really interesting, especially for like a really character-led game. I think that's quite a good way of doing it.
Like they said, like they've stressed like it's not about having like 100% approval with them.
Yeah.
But there must be
a detriment to not.
Yeah. Because, you know, there's always companions that you just like, absolutely not, don't want anything to do with you, will never agree with you, don't want to look at you, you'll never leave this camp. So there must be slower progression, or there must be something to it. But we'll see, I guess.
I wonder as well, like, I know that they're going to have, like, not approval, but like a reputation with each faction. And I wonder if your reputation with the companion plays into that.
Maybe. Because each companion is tied to one of the factions. So that would make sense, because otherwise why would they
do that?
Why would they be there? Yeah.
So in terms of the links with the past games, what links?
This shook me, this thing. I was It's disappointing to say the least.
Yeah, so going into Inquisition, you could put all of your choices from Origins and 2 into a website that EA had made called Dragon Age Keep that was extremely detailed. Did it use all the choices? No. Was it nice to have? Yes. Like, there was a lot that it did import, and I think it did it quite well.
Yeah.
So it was really disappointing when I was watching some of the stuff that people had released from the events where people got to go play some of it. And you can import 3 choices from Inquisition only, which are: who did the Inquisitor romance? Did you disband the Inquisition or preserve it as a peacekeeping force? And did you vow to stop or save Solus? Which, I know that Solus is like a major part of the game, but they've confirmed Morrigan's in it, and there's 2 major choices related to Morrigan that you'd expect to...
The well was the one that we were like, oh, it's got to be the well. And like, I've heard the devs say, like, because it's set in a new part of the world, they kind of just didn't think it was relevant to know all this stuff from past games, which I get it.
Yeah.
And it's better for people who are new to the franchise, like, coming in and never have played the old, because the old games, they're very dated now.
Yeah.
So, like, I get it. But, like, for the people that have been there since the beginning, you kind of want to know, like, oh, well, what happened because I did this?
Yeah.
And it feels like, I know, like, it's not, it can't just be pure fan service, and it can't be like, oh, this person's here, and this person's here, and this person's here. But the fact that they've said, like, nothing really carries over, it kind of means we're not really going to get much, if any, of that.
Like...
Unless it's very, very vague.
I know that Bioware's kind of shot themselves in the foot a bit with the Dragon Age canon, because there's so many characters who are in like a quantum state. Like, they can be alive, they can be dead, they could be like traveling, they could be doing this. And I get that it would be a real pain in the ass to try and program around that. But also, like, there is certain characters that I was expecting to appear.
Yeah.
Based on the story
where you are
and where we are in the world.
Yeah.
Like, Zevran is an Antivan Crow from Origins. who's
Dorian
kind
as
of
well.
rebelled against the crows a little bit in a lot of world states. And they could easily retcon that to just be like, oh, like, he just rebelled a bit later.
Could never be me because he's dead in mine because he turned against me, so I killed him, so not relevant to me, but yeah.
And then, like, you'd expect Dorian to appear.
Yeah.
To be fair, Dorian could still appear because there's not a lot of
We know where
choice-based
he's,
stuff
yeah, like
around
his
him.
ending is always the same, isn't it,
Yeah.
basically? So yeah.
And like Fenris, he becomes like a slave hunter and could be hunting slaves into winter, which would tie into the Shadow Dragon story because they're trying to free all the slaves. So like, I get it from that point. It is disappointing, but I see
we understand why they've
so many different things could be happening to Fenris that it's like,
yeah, it's easier not to include these people, but.
And the only other thing for me is like, I am a huge fantasy nerd, so I like world building and stuff. And what I really liked about Inquisition was the Codex, because the Codex would, a lot of the choices that weren't directly referenced in the game would come up in the Codex. So I'd be like, oh, like 4 years ago, this and this happened, and that's why this place is like it is now. And like, I know that we're not going to the same places, but there are some choices, like you can literally decide who the head of the church is.
Yeah, I thought that would have been one that we.
And I know that they take another name, but like their personalities are very different.
Yeah.
And like the king and queen of Ferelden can be different in people's world states. So like they're just not going to mention Ferelden at all. I don't know. Like I like to read all the nitty. They said that like, oh, we don't want like all of our stuff to just be like Codex cameos. I'm like, yeah, but I like that. Like, for me, please. But I don't know. I'm interested to see if it kind of
if it can do it without feeling glossed over.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we're so far removed, and obviously like, I think one of the main things about this though is obviously like Varric is in the start of the game. Obviously we don't know what happens to him after the parts that we've seen. But then obviously like he knows Hawk.
Yeah.
He was with us in Inquisition. I know like the Inquisitor is confirmed to be in the game. You can make your Inquisitor.
That's the other thing people are worried about as well. Like with the Inquisitor being in the game, they're like, if we can only decide who they romanced and if they liked Solus or not.
Yeah.
Like, it's just going to be the most like cookie cutter.
Like if it was Hawk, for example, they could just be like, oh, so were you like a blue hawk, purple hawk, or a red hawk, and you could be like, oh, it's this one, and then they could kind of like weave it in. But with the Inquisitor, I don't feel like the Inquisitor had very like a strong personality in any way.
Not really.
No.
So in terms of Rook, from what I've seen of the character creator, I'm very impressed.
Yeah, it looks very good, very very detailed.
The only like thing that I've seen people disappointed about are the Kunari faces, which is fair because the horn texture is kind of weird where it meets the head.
Yeah. It's just like a big empty space, isn't it? But I have seen videos where people use like
the tattoos
and the hair and stuff, and they do make some like really good looking, interesting characters. So I don't think it's as bad as
the only other thing that I've seen criticism about are the sliders for the. I don't know what we can get away with saying on YouTube.
The assets.
Yeah, the top and bottom assets.
Okay.
Because if you want to give your Rook absolute back, I'm afraid that the top slider's not that bootylicious. But like again, that's probably like a armor issue, like with the textures and stuff.
You can't walk around being like the
cheap
clap, the clap pulling out the guard.
The Darkspawn will hear you coming.
Yeah.
But so the character creator basically split into 5. The first part is lineage, so that's your like which gender you're presenting as and which race that you want to play. You can play as a human, elf, dwarf, or Kunari. Then it goes into appearance. So the appearance stuff was just huge.
Yeah.
I mean, there was so many different options for things.
Do you know what I like as well? The one that really stood out for me was like the tattoos. You don't have to have the whole tattoo.
Yeah.
You can like take parts of it and stuff away.
The thing that shocks me the most is the hair.
Yeah.
Because I love Bioware's my favourite developer. They could not design hair to save their lives. Every Bioware game has had the worst hair selection. But this one, everyone's walking around with like the most immaculate wig.
That one rook that like
With
got
the really long hair.
Yeah, when they put that rook out on YouTube and everyone was like, "Oh my god, that rook's so beautiful!" And then like in that like fight scene where she got like thrown around and her hair was like moving and everyone was like, "Oh my god."
I was really shocked to learn that they got the EA Sports developers to help with that. I've never played a sports game. I didn't know they were known for the hair, but like it does look really good, and there's I think something like 80 options.
And they're not like gender locked or anything. Everything can be used by anyone. I think there is like specific hairstyles for say like the Canary.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the others. I think there might be like one or two. I think I've heard people say there is a few. But I think the Canary is the one, obviously because of the horns.
Yeah, I think they've got something like 30 options.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. Different lighting options as well, because the worst thing about the Inquisition character creator was that horrible green light, and then you put your makeup on you.
You're like a clown.
There's like a number of lighting arrangements, so you can see what it would look like.
4, isn't there? Yeah.
In basically all the different types of lighting in the game.
And I think from the get-go, you will have access to like a mirror that you can change your appearance.
Yes. There's 2 voices. Well, there's 2 like they're not locked by gender, but there's like 2 male and 2 female voices. One British and 1 American. The British voices in the game are very oddly northern.
Yeah. I love it when you can be British and like Hawk's British voice was peak. And then when I heard Rook's, I was like,
so alright, look.
Yeah, I was devastated. I like being like posh British because then when you're like really sarky and horrible,
it comes across like so much
funnier. Yeah. But I guess we'll see. Do you know what? I don't think I've heard the American ones.
No, I don't think I have. So once you've picked the voice, you can then choose your class. So it's warrior, mage, and rogue. I'll go into those probably in a bit more detail as well later. But then the specializations, I think you can. I don't know if you. No, you don't choose them in the character creator, but you can preview them.
Oh, okay.
I think. I'm sure I read that, so I might be talking absolute rubbish. I'm sure I read that.
Can't be in a dream.
And then you move on to your faction. So you can choose to align with any of the game's 6 major factions. And then depending on which one you choose, you get like a little backstory blurb. You can see your Rook's little backstory, and you can make your little headcanons around that.
Basically, I'm not gonna read them out to you, but basically, like everyone is essentially, you are a person in this faction that makes some kind of a mistake, and you then get kind of alienated by your faction, or you kind of get sent away.
Yeah.
So that's why you're kind of on your own when the game starts.
It's like you've made a mistake, or like you've not entirely followed orders because you're a bit of a maverick.
Rebels.
Yeah, you basically get sidelined for being a bit of a mad lad, and then that's where the game starts. And the last part is just your difficulty settings. So in terms of the specializations, there's 3 per class. They're unlocked again. We think at level 20. But you can, if you don't kind of solidify yourself into one like you do in the old ones, you can pick and choose. Each class will have a jump, dodge, heavy attack, light attack, range, block. I think a lot of them have parry, which could never be me.
No, I don't do that. We don't do that here.
So the heavy attacks remove armor faster, and then the ranged attacks move the shield barriers.
Yeah.
Each class will have its own weapon sets that you can freely change between.
That's interesting. That is. Because obviously I'm going to play as a warrior, obviously, and I've seen a lot of gameplay with the shield, and I was like, not really for me. I'd rather have like live, laugh, long sword in it. You know what I mean? So then, like, when you can have the options to have both, because I wouldn't use the shield for defense, but like the throwing mechanic of the shield, like how you would play like Cap in like the Avengers game, you were the only person playing. Like that's cool. I like that. Yeah. So it's interesting that you can have Hannah Montana, best of both worlds, I guess.
So, like, the warrior, like we just said, is the sword and shield and the, like,
long
big
sword,
two-handed.
Sword, yeah.
The rogues can choose, they can use dual daggers, and then they've got a bow. And then the mages have a staff, or, like, an orb and a dagger.
What are you pondering with the orb? What's how does
so,
that
like,
work?
the orb, I think the orb charges, like elemental damage, and then you can like detonate it with a dagger or something.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
yeah. It's like this game's like a melee mage, but it's more rogue focused than warrior, which
that's
is
interesting.
yeah. I didn't think I'd like it at the start because I always play like a battle mage, and I was like, rogue mage, that's a bit. But I was watching some gameplay of it, and it does look quite good.
It is good. I've heard that rogue is the one.
Yeah.
Apparently, like that is the best class, but it could never be me. It have to be a warrior.
So each of the specializations, they're linked to one of the factions, but you don't have to be that faction to like pick it. It's just like thematically linked, I guess.
Yeah.
So the warriors are a reaper, which basically focuses on draining life from enemies, and kind of using that to power some like supernatural abilities.
It's like I think they said like it's like you got to balance the payoff between damage, the damage that you take to do the attack, and the damage you're going to cause. It apparently it's quite like you have to sort of pick and choose your moments with it.
There's the Slayer, which basically focuses on the big two-handed weapons, which is exactly what you're going to do.
And as soon as I had a message, it's like, congratulations on choosing the Slayer speciality. And then when I read it, I was like, yeah, you know me so well.
And then there's the Champion, which it focuses on like shrugging off damage with the shield, and it says summoning righteous fire down on enemies. So I don't know if there's like a firebomb ability. I don't know.
I don't know because I watched the Slayer one and I was like, this is the one for me, and I never looked at the others.
And then the rogue ones are Duelist, which is focusing on the daggers. It's kind of parry and dodge, pretty standard.
Yeah.
Saboteur, which is basically like you set traps and explosives and stuff. And then there's Veil Ranger, which seems to be like a bow focused one. But they charge their arrows with magic.
Oh, that's cool. Oh,
so that sounds quite interesting.
I do like a good bow in a game.
And then the mage ones are Deathcaller, which is like your standard necromancer, like drain life, stuff like that. Spellblade, which focuses on the orb and the dagger, and like close quarters combat.
Sweet.
And then Evoker, which is basically your like elemental magic. That one apparently focuses on frost magic. So the difficulty settings, there's a range of difficulty settings. Not really important for me because I'll be playing it on easy mode because life's hard enough.
Agreed.
So I'll be playing on Storyteller, here to build a party, plunge into story with forgiving combat.
That's me. I'm here for a good time, a long time.
But if you do fancy more of a challenge, there's Keeper, which is more about like party composition, and there's a bit more focus on reaction times.
That could never be me.
My reaction times
I like choose like it'll be like my romance option and my bestie, and none of the others will ever see the light of day.
There's Adventurer, which is kind of like a bit harder. Underdog, which describes you as being pushed to the limit, overcome punishing odds. And then Nightmare, which is for brutality. Overwhelming battles that give no quarter. Could never be me.
I'd say that could never be me, but I actually finished Dragon Age Origins on Nightmare difficulty. Why did I do that, Jake?
Because somehow your settings magically changed while you were in the toilet. And you just didn't notice.
I was like, all of a sudden the game's got like a bit of a difficulty spike. Like, I wouldn't say it got too hard, but it just feels different. And then I got to the end of the game and the trophy popped and I was like, what?
To be fair, I did do Origins and Inquisition in Nightmare, and I think I did 2 as well. If there was a trophy for it, I did, because I was trying to platinum them. And there's also there's an Unbound one as well, which is like fully customizable. I think as well with Nightmare, I'm pretty sure that I read that once you've selected it, you can't like change it.
Oh no.
Yeah. In terms of the factions, they play a big role not only in like Rook's backstory, but they're a main part of the game as well. You get reputation with them. There's like faction specific vendors. They're like intertwined with all the main quests.
Yeah, and I've heard them say as well, like it's not like buddying up with a faction to get like a piece of armor. How you, I suppose, the rapport you have with the faction, they can actually have an effect on the world state, or like when something will happen and you need allies, if you got like these factions up high enough, they will actually come to aid you.
Yeah.
So it's not just kind of a like, oh, you've got to do this to get like the reward at the end,
Yeah.
and then it's never relevant again.
Yeah. So there's 6 main factions. There's also the Inquisition, but they kind of get. There's no like real.
Not about them, Baes.
Yeah. So there's the Grey Wardens, which, if you're not familiar with Dragon Age, they're like an ancient order that their job is to fight the Darkspawn, which are like these monster things. They go have like a secret ritual that they do when they join, and then that gives them like a few supernatural powers, nothing too major. The other thing about the factions as well, I forgot, is they have like, if you pick that faction for your rook, it will give you certain stat boosts.
Oh, okay.
So the Grey Warden is strong against Darkspawn enemies, but it also gets increased base health and defense. As well, it changes Rook's surname. So in Inquisition, it's based on the race that you choose.
Mm.
But with this, it's based on the faction. So if you choose to be a Grey Warden, your surname will be Thorn.
That is a cool fantasy. That's a bit of a like, that's main character energy in
it. The Veil Jumpers, they're basically explorers of ancient elven ruins. So there's a big forest in Tevinter called Arlathan, which is where the old elven empire was, like their capital was there, and it's all ruins now, and the ruins have like weird stuff going on. So their whole vibe is that they're investigating that area. They're strong against what's described as fade-touched enemies. And they deal slightly increased critical or weak point damage.
Oh, okay.
And Rook's surname, if they're a Veil Jumper, is Aldweir. Aldweir. I don't know if I'm saying that. We'll find out in 2 weeks. The Shadow Dragons, they're a resistance group that basically they oppose the corruption and the slavery that happens in Tevinter. So their like whole vibe is bringing justice to the people and like toppling the repressive systems there. They're strong against the Venatori, which are like a cult from Inquisition.
Yeah.
Who worshipped the main bad guy of Inquisition. I guess they've changed focus.
Don't know what to do now.
Worshipping someone else, I guess.
Just want him back.
And so for the Shadow Dragons, your class specific resource, which I think is stuff like mana and stamina.
Yeah, it's gotta be, hasn't it?
That regenerates faster.
Ooh.
And the Shadow Dragon surname is Murkar.
Okay.
There's the Lords of Fortune, which are basically like treasure hunters and like explorers. They're from Rivain, which is kind of like a how to describe it, because it's not really like a real world country that much. But it's like it's known for its pirates, and it's just like it's just chill.
It's the Tortuga house.
Yeah, basically. It's just a chill place. They're not that religious there. There's like a Kunari settlement. It's just chill.
Just chill.
Just
pure vibes.
So the Lords of Fortune are strong against mercenaries, and they perform takedowns with slightly less effort. And Rook's surname with the Lords of Fortune is Ladia. Lady, hear me tonight. There's the Morn Watch. They're like an order of necromancers from Navarra, which is basically a country that worships dead people. There's like a big like necropolis in their capital city, and the Morn Watch are the people who like take care of that. They're not all like necromancers, because you can be one and not be a mage, but like they look after the tombs basically.
Yeah.
Because the undead just kind of chill there and just walk about. So if they get a bit leery, they're like, get back in your coffin. So obviously they're strong against the undead.
Yeah.
Because that just fits. And they can
on the job training.
Apply like an additional affliction stack on targets when they're fighting them.
Okay. Necrophine them.
And then the last one, their surname is Ingolvar.
Okay.
Which is Swedish sounding.
Yeah.
And then there's the Antivan Crows.
This is the one that's got the best name.
Which is the one that I'm going to pick because they've got the best outfit.
Yeah. See, I want to be the pirate one, fell for one piece, like, yeah. And then I saw the outfit and I was like, no.
But the Antivan Crows have got drip.
They absolutely do. And they've got the best surname.
So their surname is Deriva.
Yeah.
And
Canon family.
It is a canon family.
Yeah.
I was researching it the other day, and the King of Antiva in Inquisition is a Deriva.
Oh.
So that's rich, I guess.
Yeah.
And they're basically just a guild of assassins. They're pretty easily summarized. But Antiva doesn't have an army, so they also function as like the protectors of Antiva. So they're strong against the Anton, which is the Kunari army, because the Kunari have invaded Antiva for some reason. The whole like series are like, yeah, we're going to invade Tevinter, and they're like, actually no, their army's too big. Antiva doesn't have an army, we'll invade them instead. And their like bonus is that they can hold an extra potion.
That makes no sense. You would think like because they're like assassins. Oh, I've got a pocket.
Yeah.
That's their power. You get an extra pocket.
It's because of the drip.
Yeah.
It's got the... So there are 7 companions in the game, and each one of those is linked to one of the factions as well. So all the companions are romanceable by any player. If you don't romance them, don't be surprised if they don't go and romance each other. You can only take 2 of them with you, unlike the past games where you can take 3. Something else that I found quite interesting is that certain missions will require you to take one of the companions. So I think that's good because it kind of forces you to hang out with people that you wouldn't really hang out with. And the other really interesting thing is if you don't take the companions, they
just turn up, don't they?
On the mission, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen like gameplay from one of the later game missions where I think they took Tash and Gavrin, but then like all the other companions were also there, that were just doing their own thing. So I think that's really interesting. And then that I think when you're exploring as well, sometimes they'll just like if you're exploring in Antiva, Lucanus will just be like at a cafe drinking coffee, and sometimes they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go do this. Do you want to come help?" And it's like, "Yeah, go on then.
Go on then.
Got nothing better to do.
Anything for you, babe.
Got nothing better to do while the world's ending." So the first companion I'm going to talk about is Davrin. He's a Grey Warden. His whole like shtick is that he's a monster hunter. And he looks after a little baby griffin.
Yeah, so cute.
Griffins in the past games were believed to be extinct. They've explained why they're not in a book. Someone found some living in a cave. That's all the explanation you need, really. A Grey Warden years ago like preserved some with blood magic, and they were in a cave.
Oh, fair enough.
So he will use the griffin in combat.
Yeah, I've seen that. It looks so cool. When he like calls it down and stuff, it looks really good.
And the most important thing, you can
pet him.
You can hook him. It's really cute. From what I've seen of Davrin, I've not seen a lot of him. I've liked what I heard in the little podcast thing that they've been putting out. He seems quite like he's got banter.
I feel like he might be a bit of a Riz Lord.
Yeah. Then there's Tash, who's a dragon hunter. She's a Kunari dragon hunter. She's a Lord of Fortune, and she basically lives for adventure and just doesn't mind taking risks. She's probably the one that I'm like least interested in.
Yeah.
Which is like I was really hyped to have like a female Kunari companion because they haven't done that before. But she kind of just gives like you ordered Karlak from Temu.
I guess we'll see.
I hope she's got more to her.
Yeah.
But she's also like, apart from Davrin, she's the one that they've said the least about, so I'm suspicious of her. Because none of the devs have really talked about her, and I'm like,
maybe she's got something.
They did that with Solus, and he was a snake. So next companion is Harding.
I like
fans of Inquisition will recognise her. She was a scout for the Inquisition. So basically, if you went to a new area, she'd be there in a little tent, and she'd be like, "Oh, this place's vibe." You could flirt with her a bit. She's nice. She's nice.
She was nice.
She's just like really cheery and.
I like her voice.
Yeah.
I think she's got a really nice voice.
But what I didn't expect was in the launch trailer they showed her using magic, which dwarves can't do. So there's something going on with her that's interesting.
Well, we were talking about this because obviously like Solus is trying to drop the veil. So obviously if the veil drops, would it mean that everyone's got some level of like access to magic?
That's what I'm thinking, to be fair, because like the rest of them kind of do. Apart from Davrin. But he's got a griffin, so it doesn't matter. The bond between him and the griffin is magic.
I guess.
It might have something to do with the Titans from the DLC from the last game.
Maybe.
So I'm interested to see what's going on with Harding.
Yeah.
Then there's our boy Lucanus.
Oh my god, absolutely.
He's basically really kind of pragmatic, like he takes his job very seriously.
Very seriously, yeah.
He's like the grandson of the leader of the Crows, also possessed by a spite demon. So that will be interesting.
Aren't we all?
Well, true. It's interesting seeing what I've seen of that and how they've like handled it, and it being different to the other Dragon Age companions that we've seen.
Also been
Yeah, it's interesting to see how they're handling it differently.
Yeah,
and I think his storyline is one of the ones that I'm most interested to see play out. And his romance arc is one of the ones that I'm most
obviously. We know what we're about up in here. Like, me, you, and Nathan. Like, the minute we saw the trailer, we're like, yeah, that's the guy.
So the worst part is when I've read the book that came out, the Tevinter Knights book in lockdown, I was like, I hope he's in the next game because he sounds really hot. And then when they announced him as a companion, I was like,
sure.
So the next companion is Balara. She's a veil jumper. She's described as creative and romantic.
I like her.
I liked her vibes.
But then that also makes me think she's like, just because we've been betrayed every game, every time I see anything about these people, I'm like, oh, what's their angle?
Yeah.
She's really cute, she's really nice, she's very helpful.
But she is obsessed with the ancient elven secrets.
Balara is really sweet until she wasn't.
Emmerich, he's a necromancer of the Mormont. He's the oldest companion. He's in his 50s, I think they said. So he has been described as a gentleman. He's very refined.
Rizlord. A Rizlord?
Not usually into older guys, but I'm picking up what the fandom's putting down, I'm not going to lie. And he comes with a little skeletal assistant called Manfred, who's voiced by Matt Mercer for some reason.
I love Matt Mercer so much. He's so unhinged.
I'd die for Manfred, to be honest.
And you can play rock, paper, scissors with him, can't you, in the little lighthouse?
I hope nothing bad happens to Manfred. That's my one hope for the game, that Manfred is unscathed by the end. I mean, he's already dead. It can't exactly get worse. But and then there's Nev, who's a cynic. She's fighting for the Shadow Dragons to like help revolutionise Tevinter a bit.
She's a private investigator, isn't she? Originally?
She is. She's a bit of a bad bitch, to be honest.
She is, to be fair. Yeah. I thought originally, I remember like when we first saw all stuff about them, I was like, if anyone's going to betray us, it's that one.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, the more we see about I'm becoming more trusting of her.
I've got like a huge conspiracy theory. She's
totally.
like the leader of Tevinter's secret door. Because they both wear the same colour and they both wear a lot of snakes. And
I mean, I'm convinced.
I don't need any more evidence, to be honest. So there are several characters from past games and the books and comics as well that are confirmed to appear. And again, they're mostly all related to the factions. So Varric and the Inquisitor from Inquisition are obviously coming back. There's some of the crows from the books. So there's Andaratea and Lucanus' family and Viago. They've been, I think Taya and Viago have been in a lot of comics. They're quite a good pairing. There's Antoine and Evka from the comics and the books, who are two Grey Wardens, and they're really cute.
We love a good.
I ship them so bad. There's Irilyn and Strife. They're the Veil Jumpers. There's Zara Renata, who's like a Venatori from Lucanus' story in the book. She's kind of like his antagonist. Well, she's not in the story. She like swears vengeance on him in the end. So I'm imagining that because she's in the game, she's going to be his antagonist. And then Morrigan's back with
my antagonist.
A new outfit this time. There's some weird stuff going on with her by the look of it. She's got Mithal's little crown on. So I'm interested to see what they're doing with her.
Because we don't know what happened at the well.
Yeah, I feel like she's going to be the character that, like, if they follow on directly from this game, she'll be the one that like shows up in everything to see what's like going on.
Yeah.
And then there's Meveris as well, who's like she's a magister from Tevinter, but she's one of the nice ones who's working with Dorian. And she's just really cool. She's Varric's like, I think she's either Varric's like aunt-in-law or sister-in-law or something. She's a bit iconic, to be honest. And then in terms of the antagonists, there's obviously Solus.
No, let's be real. They're gonna like this game's gonna try and like it's gonna be a Solus apologist. Like
yeah,
like,
yeah, 100%. They're gonna try and make him seem like a good guy.
I don't know about good guy, but like they're gonna be like, but he was just misunderstood, babe.
Yeah. So his like whole vibe is that he was an ancient elf who rose up in rebellion against their gods, who weren't gods; they were just really powerful mages. And he trapped them all in the Fade. So like, he never really says why an Inquisition or Trespasser. So I think this game will go into the like why he did it.
Yeah, because there's all these flashbacks, isn't there?
Yeah, when you're exploring in the Crossroads, you can find like flashbacks of Solus's memories and like see what happened from his point of view.
With hair.
Yeah, that's kind of cursed.
It is a little bit.
And then there's the two elven gods who get out while he's doing his ritual at the start. So there's Elganon, who's the god of vengeance and the sun, and he's Mithal's husband.
Oh.
And then there's Gillenane, who's like an eldritch horror. She was basically an elf who liked to make things, including the Hala. They're like, oh, she made the Hala, so she's like the god of navigation. Because they take us places, and it's like, it was a bit of a stretch. But then it turns out that she also made so many monstrosities.
But what about the people who died?
In like one of the tales in the Tevinter Nights book, these two wardens get like stuck in this cave. And there's this like creature that's basically like the human centipede.
Oh no!
And there's like all murals to her on the wall.
Oh no!
And it's like, oh, she's a freak. Okay. But one of the other gods was like so impressed by her creations that they like raised her to godhood.
Oh, okay.
And then besides the Dreadwolf and those two, they've confirmed that you'll be fighting Darkspawn. I think the Fate-touched enemies are going to be the like suits of armor that come to life in the forest.
Maybe. Yeah.
The Venatori cultists, the mercenaries, undead, demons, and the Kunari. What relation they have to the Elven gods, I don't know. But there's been like a number of different places confirmed that we can go to. So most of what we've been to so far has been in the south. Obviously, Origins was set in Ferelden. 2 was set in Kirkwall in the Free Marches, and then Inquisition was set in Ferelden and Orlais.
Yeah.
But we've kind of left those areas behind, and we're looking at all the other countries that we haven't been to yet. So you can go to the Anderfels, which is kind of like it's described as being really barren because most of the blights have started there.
Yeah.
It's where the Grey Wardens are like headquartered. One of the maps there's like a marshland from what I've seen. Tevinter, which is ruled by magisters, so like really powerful mages. So you can go to the capital of Tevinter. There's some of the maps there, I think. The Arlathan Forest is one of the maps as well. That's got quite a lot of like reality warping in it, which will be quite interesting.
Yeah.
There's the Necropolis in Navarro, which is like the home of the Mornwatch. It's going to be like this big catacomb kind of place.
That sounds good. That sounds interesting.
Rivain. I didn't know a lot about Rivain, so I had to Google. But it's basically a matriarchal kingdom.
Oh.
It's ruled by a king, but the king has no power, and it's like the local like wise women who hold all the power.
Oh.
And then there's like a Kunari settlement there, and it's where the pirates are from. They've not said a lot about the Rivain and how it's involved in the game.
Okay.
And then there's Treviso, which is like a port city in Antiva that's been invaded by the Kunari, and from what I've seen, that city looks so beautiful. Like the graphics on it are just 10 out of 10. Yeah. The other main location we'll go to is the lighthouse. So the lighthouse is, again, this will have spoilers. It serves as your hub. You end up there after Solus's ritual, and it's Solus's like base of operations from when he rebelled against the gods and like where he's been like working since. So there's a lot really of lore to discover there in relation to Solus, which is going to be quite interesting. Each companion has their own little room.
Yeah.
Which is cute.
Yeah.
I think, is it Lucanus who lives in the kitchen?
He lives in the pantry.
Yeah. But then like each of their rooms has like a light outside that lights up if they've got a conversation for you.
But then like, do you know what? I know I'm not going to trust that. I'm still going to go around and talk, because like, what if like it's not like a full conversation, but you know, like sometimes they have like a different line of dialogue.
Yeah, or they're just like doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to trust the light. I know I'm still going to check on everyone.
I'm just going to walk in and say hi.
Yeah.
And you can access the caretaker's workshop from here, and I'll go into what the caretaker is later because that's like a whole thing. So from the lighthouse, there's like a big illusion mirror, which is like if you've not played Dragon Age, it's like a mirror that acts as like a portal.
Yeah.
But instead of just taking you to where you go in, it takes you to like a parallel dimension within the Fade.
And then you use that then to get there.
Yeah.
Wherever you're trying to come out of.
The crossroads is like the network of all these illusions in the Fade. And I'd say this is probably the most open area from what I've seen.
Okay.
Because
you can like fast travel through it, can't you?
Yeah.
But if you do actually take the time and explore it, there's quite a lot going on in there.
Yeah, I've heard that there's all the Solus memory stuff, and there's apparently quite a lot of side quests and collectibles and stuff in there.
Okay.
The interesting thing, because this was kind of in the Trespasser DLC as well, what was interesting about it in Trespasser and in the book where it was first mentioned is that it looks different to elves.
Oh.
So if you play as an elf, like if you play as a human in Trespasser, everything's like kind of, all the trees are like dying.
Yeah.
And then if you play as an elf, they're all like in bloom.
Oh.
So I'm wondering if it'll be that deep in Veilguard. Or will it be like, oh, because the veil's falling.
Yeah.
It's the same for everybody.
Yeah.
Picker is weirdly hot. I'm just going to say it.
Got to speak the truth.
And that's all you need to know. So he's this ancient entity that has lived in the lighthouse longer than Solus has been there.
This game's withers.
Yeah, basically. So he's got a little workshop. I don't know, he's just been chilling in his lighthouse for thousands of years, like, I'm going to open a workshop. And you can rank it up to a rank of 10 using mementos that you find across the world.
That's cool.
You can buy some, you can find some in the crossroads, you can find some just out and about.
Okay.
I don't know what they are. I'm assuming it will just be like because like a memento makes it sound like it's like a like a memory or something.
Like something like he would be actually interested in.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if like you find it and it's got like a little bit of lore.
Yeah, I didn't think about too many times with a little story.
He's apparently got quite an interesting backstory.
He's got a super cool design as well.
Yeah. So when you upgrade the workshop, that affects your equipment upgrade. So when you upgrade your equipment, you can upgrade it up to your workshop rank. So if you are rank 6, you can upgrade like longsword to rank 6.
Okay.
It also influences the rank that you can find new equipment. So like, I don't know if it's exactly the same, or like
it just increases the chance of the
level
basically.
Yeah. And it changes the rank that you can buy equipment from vendors as well.
Oh. With equipment as well, it's not just a caretaker that you can level them up with. Basically, if you find the exact same piece of equipment, they're all auto-combined.
Which I really like that, because there's nothing worse than having 75 of the same sword that you need to sell.
And equipment's like locked to the characters as well, which I like that.
Yeah.
Because then it becomes that whole thing of like, well, it's no good for me, so I'm going to give it to this companion, and then their armor can go to this companion, and it just takes so long.
Yeah.
Whereas that, it makes it a bit more streamlined.
Yeah. And then some of the armors are appearance only as well, which I said before.
Yeah, that makes sense though. Yeah.
A lot of the like casual, like lighthouse attire is like a transmog thing.
Oh, okay.
So that was everything on the caretaker, and I think it's going to be really interesting.
I'm really looking forward to this. I am really hyped for this. I think it is. I think it's going to pull it out the bag. Personally,
I don't think Bioware would have released it if they didn't think it was going to be good, because they kind of know that like their last 2 games weren't great. They've not had a release in like so many years. EA is not known for being the most like forgiving publisher.
Yeah.
So I think, and they've had like old devs who worked on the old games go and play it, and they're like, this is the best Dragon Age I've ever played.
Obviously, it's all like preference.
Yeah.
Obviously, like people still might not enjoy it. I think I'm personally going to enjoy it.
Yeah, same.
I think the companions seem like a good set of interesting companions.
I'm going to enjoy it. I can tell that I'm going to enjoy it because it's giving me the most Dragon Age 2 vibes. And as an intellectual, Dragon Age 2 is my favourite Dragon Age.
Age 2 is my favourite, like that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, I think this one's going to be good. I hope it's good because
I'm hearing that it's quite like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like emotional.
Okay.
Like a lot of the devs are like, yeah, there's a lot of harsh choices in this. I'm like,
oh. We are looking forward to it. We are a Dragon Age stan household.
Yeah.
Right, so that's it for our Veilguard discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got another video coming up, Jake, if you want to.
We do. So it's basically a quick look at what if you're like completely new to the franchise or you're not new to the franchise and you just want to like catch up. We've got like a little, not really a lore timeline, but like it's kind of these are the things that exist and a little bit about them in order timeline. So if you want to know like what the story has been so far in like a very quick way, hopefully,
what you
if I don't
need to
get
know.
distracted, then we'll have a video about that as well for you to check out.
Alright guys, we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.